Hello, I'm Jason with MathTutorDVD.com, and here we're going to talk about what I think is one of the really neatest things about this calculator, and that's the way that it handles fractions. Everyone here in the beginning has problems with fractions and learning how to work with them, and with practice you get better. But the way this calculator handles fractions really makes it absolutely bulletproof for anyone to get the right answer and to check your work. So the main thing to note is that anytime you do division in this calculator with the division symbol here, like 7 divided by 8, most calculators would go ahead and put a decimal as the answer, go ahead and do this division. But the TI-89 is basically going to keep it as a fraction. So when you pull it out of the box, the first thing you do is you start doing basic calculations, and the first thing a student does usually is try to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. When you start doing division, even simple things like 5 divided by 5, well, in that case, it's an exact answer. But if you do something else like 5 divided by 10, it's going to leave the answer in terms of a fraction, and that's really frustrating. 4/5, for instance, you just put the input 4/5 and it sticks 4/5 out. And so if you don't know what the calculator is trying to do, it's a little bit of a mystery. And so basically, if you go here into the mode menu, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but if you go on page 2, you'll see that in the exact approximate, we're in automatic mode. And what that means is that any calculation that I do here, if it's a fraction that it can simplify, it will try to simplify the fraction, but it's generally going to leave all fractions as fractions because that's a more exact representation of what you put in. It's not going to do the long division and put it into decimals unless you tell it to. So that's the way it defaults, and you can override that in the mode menu, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. But it's very powerful because, for instance, let's go and say, what if we, if you're doing really basic algebra, let's say you were doing something like you forgot how to simplify the fraction 16/64, right? So let me go back and make this 64. So if you put 16 divided by 64 in a normal calculator, it'll do the division and it'll put a decimal out there. But in the TI-89, this is a fraction, and if you put it on there, it's basically going to try to simplify that fraction, and it's going to simplify it to 1/4. And you don't have to really tell it to do that. It's just automatically going to simplify fractions. All right, now, if you get an answer as a fraction like we have here, and you decide, okay, I don't want to really look at the fraction representation, I really want to know what the decimal is, my recommendation to you is just to go and hit the green button here. You don't have to do anything other than the fact that you do a calculation, you see a fraction as a result, hit the green button and hit the squiggly equal sign, which means approximation, approximately